Alright, so I know this is going to look weird. I want to double check, make sure everything's working out pretty well. Yeah, it seems like everything should be going relatively well. Alright, hey guys, it's David. Making videos again, surprise, surprise. Yeah, and so today we're playing Sean. Look at Sean's magical rating of 1500, ha ha ha. On Leech has 1510 games, so let's get right back into it. Alright, as we know, Sean's known as the Flagger, pretty strong expert. And yeah, so we'll see if we can do well against Mr. Meruga today. See how it works. Alright, so he's going to reply with 2 Knight F3. I notice he's like to play the London. He plays the Collie as well, the Collie Zukertort. So, yeah. I'm trying to see if I really want to go into these things today. I may just reply with E6. And I may actually go for more of a Queen's Indian type setup. And see how he replies against that. I think the Queen's Indian setups, or even playing a hedgehog, which is where you put your pawns in E6, D6, B6, and A6. That's also a pretty good way, I think, to go against the Collie Zukertort. Or at least I saw a nice game go against it. Alright, so let's see what happens. I'm going to play E6 and just see what he does. Okay, so he can play C4, and then I'll probably play D5. So he's going to play Bishop F4. Okay, Bishop F4. Alright, so I recently played a game with him where I played D5, Bishop D6, and all that good mess. But I don't quite think I'm going to go into that line again here. While the bishop's unprotected, it's good to note that moves like Knight D5 don't really make any sense because that knight will just become a target later. Pawn to D5 makes a lot of sense, but pawn to C5 is also a little bit flexible. It's a very flexible move. And I think I might just employ it. So pawn C5 here. And the idea of C5 is it just kind of doesn't reveal, you know, what you're going to do so early. So I have an option to play D5, or I can also play B6, which is what I'll go for right now. I'm going to play B6. And I'm just going to make the position a little bit more complicated than usual. So I'm going to develop like normally, putting the bishop on B7. And then I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take twice on D4, play D6. Yeah, okay, see, he's already played something a little bit strange here. Bishop, I don't think there's really any need to play something as passive as Bishop E2. In fact, that really just completely gives away this whole E4 square. So I don't think that can be good. And the cool thing, again, about not committing my D-pawn yet is I still have the option to play D5 here if I really want to. And D5 is actually looking kind of attractive because I can completely gain control of the E4 square. But then again, seeing that he's not exactly fighting for the E4 square, maybe I can actually leave that pawn back, keep it on D6, and just maybe take... Yeah, so maybe I can leave the pawn on D6, because I know he's super used to playing these ideas with Knight D5 and such. So I think playing with a pawn on D6 will really throw him off. So I'm thinking about exchanging on D4, and then just playing D6. So let's say C takes D4, and then what will he even take back with? Let's say E takes D4, and then just D6. D6, and then he'll have weakness on the E4 square. So say castles, Bishop E7, Knight D2, castles. Then I think I should be doing fairly well there. So I'm going to go for that. So let's take. I'll also consider playing D5 again. I think both moves are actually pretty solid at this point. I'm assuming he'll take back with the E-pawn, because taking back with the C-pawn just doesn't really seem like it's looking for much of an advantage. Yeah. Okay, so I can play D5 here. And yeah, I'm actually really not how not sure how scary Knight E5 would be in these positions. Because I mean, I can put my knight on E4 too. So playing something like D5, let's say castles, Bishop E7, Knight E5, Knight E4 may be okay. Yeah, but somehow that still feels a little unnecessary. I think I'm going to play with the idea of I really liking this bishop here on this square. So I'm going to just play Bishop E7 for now. Just getting ready to castle. And then we'll probably get a castles here. Yes, castles. And then the idea is just to play d6 and kind of play a bit of a waiting game. See what white does. If white ever pushes that pawn to c4, then that can serve as a bit of a loss of tempi. So that's good. But otherwise, I'm just going to develop kind of slowly to see what white's up to. Okay, rook e1. Now the question is to put the knight on d7 or to put it on c6. I automatically am leaning towards putting the knight on d7 simply because there's not much pressure against the d6 pawn, and also because I don't really need to pressure the d4 pawn. So the knight on d7 just seems much more normal. He may play something like knight c4, that's something to keep in mind. So I have to be aware of that. Also, with the knight on d2, now this move knight d5 comes a little bit back into play. I could even go for something extreme like knight d5, bishop f4, and then f5. What's that about? So after f5, he'd probably have to respond with c4. And then I could drop the knight back to f6. But the problem is my e6 pawn would become extremely weak. After c4, though, I do have the option of playing f4, c takes d5. That line actually looks pretty good. c4, f4, c takes d5, takes an e6, takes an f2, king takes f2. Nah, I don't like that line. So maybe knight d7. And if knight c4, queen c7 is pretty normal. But yeah, we'll be definitely looking at this whole knight d5 thing because he has given me the d5 square. Currently the positions, as you'll hear in like every chess video, about equal. So that's nothing to really look at. But yeah, the position's about equal right now. But I do think I'm comfortable. Yes, bishop e2. So he completely wasted a tempo by playing bishop e2. So that already makes me feel a little bit happy. Here I could just play a good improving move, like h6. I really like the idea of playing h6. Knight d5 also comes to mind again. So knight d5, bishop g3, f5. And then the difference now is that after c4, I can play knight to b4, attacking his bishop on d3. And then that bishop will have to move, and then I can play f4 and win a piece. The only problem about that line is it seems to leave my position very loose. So like I really have to be winning a piece to go in for this. So knight d5. Okay, so we got knight d5. Knight d5, bishop g3, f5, idea being f4. Okay, what can you do? So I said c4, knight b4 attacking the hanging bishop. And yeah, that seems just busted for him. Let's say knight c4 doesn't help him, knight b3 doesn't help him there, queen e2, none of those moves help him. I just play f4 next, and then I win a piece. So that looks interesting, definitely interesting. So knight d5, bishop g3, f5. What else can he play? Let's assume he just says I'll play h3, then I'll play f4, knocking the bishop back, and then what? That's another good question. What happens even if I get the pawn f4? Not too certain about that yet. Let's just make a good preparatory move and move our rook to the e-file, perhaps. So I'm thinking either rook c8 or rook e8. Actually, I'm going to play, let me make sure you can't get a lot of pressure against e6. I'm actually going to play this here. And then the idea of this is that, Shan Meruga is basically saying that he wants to do some sort of video analysis after the game explaining himself. Okay, that's an interesting concept. I'm sure we can work something out. Okay, so he's just played h3, solid move. And now I'm thinking just playing rook c8, just developing my pieces. And then probably queen c7. h3 is also a move I'll be looking to get in. I like rook e8, is what I was trying to say, is it opens the f8 square, which is very helpful in these sorts of positions. So in other words, sometimes I can put the bishop to f8, sometimes the bishop can even come to g7. Another really good defensive idea is playing knight to f8. So if white goes crazy and just tries to like blow me off the board, knight f8 is often a nice resource to have in mind. Okay, so you'll notice there's a huge disparity with the time, but I still think I've been doing pretty well here. I think I've used all my moves effectively. Okay, so he strikes out with a4. So he's just basically said that he's going to try to make some moves on the queen side. Totally respectable. I would like to play a6 here. Very common reply type thing. The problem with a6 is he can go queen e2. And then I'm not so sure about a6 anymore. a6, queen e2. Yeah, what's going on there? Doesn't seem like anything I'd like to be a part of. It's definitely a good strike, though. It's a good move from white. I feel like I should be making my presence felt in the center of the board somehow. Like, I really like the idea of maybe playing knight d5, bishop somewhere, and then knight f6. Look at that position real quick. So I said knight d5, let's play bishop h2, knight f6, a5. And then after a5, what to do? I could just take that pawn and say, okay, you gave me a pawn, now what? But I think it's without saying that he'll get it back, perhaps. I kind of do like the knight on d5 because it forces him to make a decision. Another option is I can actually think about playing a5 here. The idea of a5, a5 really weakens the b5 square, which I really dislike. But on the other hand, it's not exactly easy for his knight to get to b5. Like his knight would have to take a long reroute. But maybe that's just not a weakening I'm ready to make right now. Alright, so let's see. Could also play something like knight f8 to g6. But I'm not sure that really goes in with my plan. And last but not least, queen c7 is an interesting move to look at. Is e5 good yet? e5, let's say, d takes e5. Oh, there is a hanging bishop there, so maybe it is good. e5 takes, and he's going to have to run with that bishop somewhere. And I can play bishop d6. Oh, let's look at this. e5. Maybe bishop f8. Preparing e5. So bishop f8, a5, e5. Let's think about that one. e5. Threat being e4. Or is it e4 even a threat? Let's see. e4. Yeah, e4 would be a threat. So I think bishop f8 with the idea of playing for e5 looks good. So let's do it. Bishop f8. So now if he plays a5, I'm going to play e5. Imagine takes. Bishop goes somewhere, and then e4 is a problem. So yeah, e5 is actually a pretty big threat in the position. Yeah, he's going to play a5 anyway. But I don't know, doesn't e5 just like do something nasty? So e5 takes. I think e5 looks almost like just winning on the spot. But I'm not so sure. Maybe I'm missing something. e5, d takes e5, d takes e5, hitting the bishop. If he plays knight takes, I just take and then I'm winning a piece. So he can't take on e5. e5, and then if the bishop runs, I push e4 and he's in trouble. Well, I don't really see anything refuting it, so I'm going to go for that. He just asked me, am I lagging? No, I'm thinking. I've used about 10 minutes and he's used about a minute, give or take the increment. But if I come up a piece out of this, then I think that'll show that my use of time was worthwhile. So the idea here basically is that I don't really think he should be able to take on e5 because at the end of the day, I should be able to win something on d3. So for instance, like takes. Well, okay, does that actually work? I think it does. I can get 2 pieces for a rook, I think. So my logic is, okay, d takes e5, d takes e5. Let's say he plays bishop takes e5. I can play knight takes e5. And then if he plays knight takes e5, I play rook takes e5, and queen takes d3. And I will really like that position. Okay, so he's gone there. I might even be able to win the bishop here right here. So his idea is if I play e4, then now it's no longer that big of a problem. I'm going to play h3, I think, h6. After h6, bishop takes f6. I'll have 2 decent options to go with, so I'm going to play h6, make a decision over there. Okay, now the question is, can he play bishop h4 or not? Okay, he's going to take, which makes sense. And now I could play queen takes, but I don't like that much. I think I'm going to go ahead and play knight takes. And he's going to reply with knight e4 most probably. I'm going to try to give him some sort of isolated. So let's play knight takes for now. Because if I didn't play knight takes and I played queen takes, then he'd definitely play knight e4. So, okay, I've already got the positional advantage of having the bishop here. So that's good. That's going for me. And then what I'm thinking is, if he does play knight e4, I can play... Okay, so he's just going to drop back. Okay, I'm cool with this. So e4 still looks like a pretty strong move. Because it's forcing his knight to a bad square, basically. Yeah, so I'm liking this idea of playing e4. Also, the e5 pawn is hanging. That's another reason to play e4. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to play e4, attacking his knight. And then this knight's going to have to go somewhere like h2. And then we're going to play... Well, we don't actually have to play d5 so early. I really want to play d5 though. Yeah, I'm going to play d5. And then the point's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to put my bishop on d6. And then I may even reroute this bishop off the b7 diagonal. And the only way to really get counterplay from white here is to attack this big center I've set up. And so the cool thing is, once you start attacking that center I've set up, you're going to be opening up the position. So that is going to be a helpful little caveat. So I'm just going to develop this bishop here. He's going to put the knight in a really solid square on e3. He plays knight g4. Okay, this is also fine. So I have a few options here. I can actually play knight h5, but that actually doesn't work out well. I'm busy right now, Mom. Let's see here. Knight takes queen f6, knight e3. And then I'm thinking he wants to weaken the d4 square. Okay. Bishop f4 is another good move, actually. Bishop f4 actually looks pretty nice with the idea of playing queen d6. Yeah, I actually like the idea of putting my bishop on that square. I actually saw an even better idea. I can also drop my knight back. Yeah, I think I'm going to investigate this idea. I'm going to go ahead and drop my knight back here. And then if he plays knight e3, I'll play like queen d7 or something. And then my idea is going to be to play f5, f4. So keep pieces on the board. He's got a little bit less space, so we're going to keep some pieces on the board. And see what we can do. If he plays knight g to e3, then I'll be taking a square away from his knight on f1, so I'll be completely fine with that. And if he plays knight f to e3, so he's going to take, okay, I understand this, takes. Maybe he wants to play queen b3 someday and like target both of those pawns. The cool thing about my bishop being on b7 right now is the fact that it kind of it guards any infiltration from that rook. Oh, his rook can come into a7, but that's not really that big of a deal. I may even play bishop b8 eventually, just to make that rook on a8 seem completely useless. Yeah, so let's play queen d7, I think. Queen d7 looks pretty natural. Queen g5 is also another move to look at. Yeah, queen g5 actually looks pretty dang good. Queen g5, though. Let's just imagine rook a7. I don't want him to quite activate his rook, though. So I'm going to play bishop back to b8. This is a multi-purpose move. It's preparing things like queen g5, taking away counterplay involved with rook a7, and also I can make a battery on demand, so play something like queen d6. Now again, a move like c4 I'm welcoming. With my two bishops like this, I really would like the position to open, and that's pretty much going to be his only strategic way to proceed. He needs to open the position, so by maintaining the two bishops, keeping them nice and far, I can prepare for a nice opening of the position. He may sack a pawn here and play knight e5. That actually might not be that bad of an idea at all. Yeah, knight e5 is actually a pretty solid plan. Because after knight e5, take, you can just play on knight c2 and blockade the pawns. But that being said, I'll still be up a pawn. If I was him, I'd play knight e5 here. Yeah, knight e5 is a good move. Maybe on knight e5, I'll just play queen d6. Preparing some like f3 type move. Right, yeah, okay, so he's going to go here, which is fine. So h5 is a move to look at. Forcing move, knocking the knight away. What else is there? Queen g5 is the move I really want to play, and I think it's the move I probably will opt for, because that knight just became a little bit weaker. And I would like to maintain that pawn on e4. I think that pawn will be a strength. And if I just take... Oh, another cool move is bishop g3. That could be a little bit annoying to face. He's saying, I just realized there was increment. I told him the time control before, so that's not really that big of a concern to me. So thinking bishop g3. Let's see where he puts his rook. Then maybe even h5. Yeah, I'm going to actually go for that. Well, bishop g3, he needs to play rook h1 and h5. Yeah, let's go for that. You can play knight f2 here. And if knight f2, I think I'll just play queen g5 again. Oh, I just realized there was increment. Yeah, the thing is, Meruga's chess would get so much better if he stopped focusing on flagging people. I've seen him literally lose games because of that, or just play bad moves. Like, just focus on the board, not the clock, and your chess will get better. I mean, if I lose a game on the clock, I'm not really that concerned. I just want to make sure that my moves are good. So the more you focus on good moves and good strategies, your chess will just naturally get better. I just now noticed I can play a move like knight g5 soon. So I'm thinking rook f1 here. And then after rook f1, I'm thinking h4, h5 I mean, attacking the knight. And then I don't know where the knight's going to move. The knight will probably have to move to e5 or something. Actually, knight f2, I can almost just play queen h4. Another idea just to keep in mind is positions rook c6 to g6. So a good attacking move to keep in mind. So yeah, if rook f1, I may just insta move h5. And then I'm going to assume he's going to play knight e5, bishop takes e5, pawn takes e5, rook takes e5. Take a few times on e4. He will definitely have compensation in that position, I will not lie. But once my little knight comes to f6, I think I'll be able to hold everything. But rook f1 is not exactly the move you want to make, but then again, rook e2 is just terrible. So he's going to have to play rook f1. Sacrifices the exchange. That is interesting. I'm trying a hard time to think twice about taking that, because if I don't take that exchange, I may regret it. What are you telling me here, Meruga? Do you even get a pawn for this exchange? Or am I missing a tactic? Let's start looking at some tactics. Bishop takes e1, knight takes h6 doesn't work. I don't know, man. I'm probably just going to scoop up this exchange and just, claim I'm up in exchange. Not saying he doesn't get comp, but okay. Let me just go ahead and take this right here. I don't know why playing rook f1 was so bad. He says exchange sack, triple sacrifice. Okay. I don't know if this is a triple X clan move at all, because I think rook f1 was pretty tenable. If you wanted to sack something, I think it would have been much smarter to sack on the e5 square if you were going to sack anywhere. Okay, so rook a7. I mean, I'm not going to lie, he's going to get play. It's not like he's not going to get any play from anywhere, but I just think there were more efficient ways to handle this position. It's like, for instance, if he plays knight e5, I'll probably play something like bishop a8 or bishop d5, maybe bishop d5. At this point, I don't mind trading pieces. I just want to trade some pieces off the board. Yeah, so there he goes. Okay, so I'm thinking just move the bishop, get the rook out of there. I really want to move the bishop to c8, actually. Oh, I can also move queen b7. Although queen b7 is not necessarily where I want my queen to be. Let's be honest. Knight f6 is also a pretty solid move. Knight g5 is not as solid. Alright, let's play knight f6. He's not threatening anything at the moment, so knight f6 it is. Oh, this was not a good move. I forgot about queen g3. But then I should have bishop c8. So queen g3, bishop c8. One good attacking thing to keep in mind is, yeah, there's always this move, queen g3 in a lot of these positions. So in other words, like for instance, queen g3, knight f5 is a very strong attacking technique against the position I have set up right now. So I'm even worried about queen g3, bishop c8, which covers the f5 square. Maybe he can play, no, he can't play. I was thinking he could play a knight f7, attacking my queen and attacking the rook, but I can just play rook takes f7 and I should be fine. So queen g3, I'll probably just play bishop c8 and hope there's no big time exchange discovery, but I don't see any discoveries because knight c6 doesn't work with the queen on g3. Knight g6 is a waste of a move, so I think I should be in time to play bishop c8 if he comes up with queen g3. And after bishop c8, I do need to formulate a plan. I would like to just hit him with some tactic, but that may not be possible. So maybe I should just play some improving moves to make my position a little bit better. If I can get his light square bishop off the board, that would be very nice. Let me take one more look at the material. Yeah, we're equal in material for now. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. I'm definitely fighting against the clock, so I think queen g3 is the scariest move. And to that, I'm just going to be ready to instantly reply. I will admit this change of sack has kind of confused the issue a little bit. But again, I just think rook f1 was a, you know, pretty tenable way to go through it. I'm letting him think. So, okay, knight f5. So another question, if I play bishop c8, can he play knight h6, take, and then can he play knight h6? So bishop c8, knight takes h6, takes, queen comes in, check, and then I just move my king there, and I say, what are you doing next? I'm going to make him prove it. Because I don't quite believe in this. So I'm just hoping knight h6 doesn't kill me, but I don't think it does. I think I have just enough defenders around my king, and he's like short one attacker. The fact that his rook is hanging also helps. This bishop on c8 will actually serve to be doing some pretty good defensive work. So right now he can win a pawn, but I don't think it works. No, he can play rook takes. So I think he's going to go that route. But I should be okay, because he can't actually play bishop e4. Because if he plays bishop e4, I play knight e4. Queen e4, I play f6. And then queen d5, I play bishop e6, and he loses. So he can't take that pawn just yet. And his knight is currently in danger. So we're trying to... He is putting the pressure on, but I would like to see him have to go backwards. I also have a very simple idea. I could just give back the exchange and just be up a pawn. That is actually probably the simplest way to play this position. So just give back the exchange and then be up a pawn. So knight g3 I'm thinking he'll play. And then rook takes, pawn takes there. But then he can play bishop takes e4. And then I can play knight takes e4. And then he can play queen takes e4, because after queen takes g3, he's got queen e8 check, king h7, and then queen takes c8. Wow, he's just barely making it out of this. So in other words, I was trying to say that after knight g3, rook takes e5, pawn takes e5, queen takes e5, I was going to say if he plays bishop takes e4, I can't use the pin yet because he has bishop h7 hitting an unexploited queen, but I was going to play knight takes e4 with the idea being that if he plays... knight takes e4, then I play bishop e7. If he plays queen takes e4, he leaves the knight on g3 undefended, but then he can play queen e8 check, and then he can pick up my bishop. So that doesn't quite work out, and I don't see anything in that position. So I'm thinking knight g3, I may just have to quiet down a little bit and just play bishop b7. So yeah, knight g3, bishop b7 is looking like the way to go. Knight g3, bishop b7, he might play knight f5, and I might play bishop c8. Pick up some time. So yeah. Otherwise, I really would not mind giving this exchange up just to get me a pawn. And then I'll just play the position up a pawn. Because I think his king's a little bit weaker, so up a pawn plus a weaker king, plus a much easier to play position. This knight on e5 is causing me some big time grief. So yeah, knight g3, I'm thinking bishop b7, knight f5. Now, there's a trick I think that he might be able to apply. If I were to play after knight f5, rook takes e5, he can play queen g3. And that looks pretty painful. Do I have knight h5? So I have knight h5 attacking the queen. Ah, he goes back this way. Yeah, now I'm really thinking about just sacking the exchange back. Because I need to make progress somehow here. So let's just sack the exchange back. And then takes. So okay, now we're up a pawn with a much simpler position. I mean, I would much rather play this. So I'm okay now. He's blockading, but I mean, he's got weak dark squares, and yeah, I'm just gonna stick this bishop on b7, and then try to remove that knight on e3. Also, I can play for counterplay with moves like queen g5, and yeah. So yeah, I like my booster now. Okay, so he moves that bishop off the square. Okay, so now I'm going to be honest. First thing coming in my mind is going to be to play queen g5, which is what I'm going to play. Simple threat, bishop takes h3. And then I'm looking forward to playing something along the lines of knight h5 to f4, or just knight h5 period. Looks like a pretty good, solid idea. I also like this move because it ties down his queen a little bit, so his queen's not going to be running all over the board with that after having to babysit that knight. h5, h4 is another idea, just clamping down. Bishop a6 somehow seems like it could be useful. Yeah, okay, now I want to play knight here. A lot of my pieces are unprotected though, I need to keep that in mind. I feel like this is a good use of a move. If I can protect my e4 pawn, why not protect it from the g3 square? Right? I also have the idea of maybe playing knight f4. So now it's my turn to put a little bit of pressure on him. I don't like my light squared bishop though. That piece really, really annoys me. Like, I need a home for it that's stable. I don't want to put it on e6. I'm not sure I want to quite. I'm not sure that I. Do I have a tactic here? If I play knight g3 and he plays there, okay, I gotta look out for tactics. So he's just saying, hey buddy, protect your pawn. I actually think this is a timely time for this move. Here, I don't really see anything he can do to hurt me. I also have to consider playing knight f4, but no, let's just go here. I was debating on some sort of knight g3 check, king h2, queen takes e3, but he can just play queen takes g3. So not of too much use. Okay, so he's now being a tricky little guy. I'm going to play this move though, which is also a little tricky. Or is it tricky? Maybe it's just stupid. I thought that I would be able to, well, we'll see what happens here. We'll see what happens. I had an idea, but I don't know if that idea is going to come to fruition. He may even be able to play queen takes b6, which would be extremely annoying, but I mean, what Kenya does. Yeah, queen takes b6 is just good for him. Seems I'm starting to blow this a little bit. Ah, he goes back. He got scared. That is a relief. Okay, so I don't want to fall for that one again. So let's play this, actually. Check. Because now he's not going to want to play king h2. And then now let's... Oh, whoa. I almost forgot I had that I had to deal with this problem over here. Queen c7. Tending from long range. Oh, am I just stupid? Can you just play bishop f7 now? Yeah, you can. Yeah, okay, this is not this is not good chess. He can play bishop f7 and then yeah, we'll see what'll happen there, but I don't know. Yeah, okay, here comes bishop f7 here. Okay. And now we enter this in game, which I am not super thrilled about, let's just say. So I think I'm going to do is I need a stable spot for my holy mess. Did I already just give something up? Queen b8. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Yep. Queen b8 already dropping a pawn to start off the ending. Wow. So I may actually lose this. Especially if he can find a way to get in queen f5. Which I will try my best not to allow him to do, but I can't make any promises. Yep, he's going for queen f5. That only makes sense. Okay. Wow, this is unfortunate. I think I'm forced to play this. Maybe knight d5 you may play. Okay, let's play queen f4. This tickles knight a little bit. I have to move fast. Let's bring this guy back here. He's probably just going to start marching his pawns. So I see one drawing technique that I'm going to have to try to go for. The idea is going to be put the pawn on h4, then just perpetual check. So we'll see if this will work. Very well may not, but we'll see. This is going to be a tough one. Okay. So if I move there, what's his plan? There are no checks, and he needs to deal with his knight. Let's see what'll happen. I'm curious. His knight is hanging right now. Seems like queen d4 is the obvious move, with the idea of he may be able to play some sort of be able to get in some checks. But at this point, I'll be happy with the draw. Yeah, queen d4. Now the thing is to make sure on h5 I don't get mated. But I don't think I do. I actually think I can afford to play that move. Because how is he mating me? Okay. I can also just come back. Which is what I think I'll do. We'll just come back. Ask him to address this problem again. Okay, so we'll see. Can I survive this? Counterplay. By the way, a summation of this game quickly is that I got an advantage, then he sacked in exchange, making things tough. I was low on time, so I decided to sack it back and be a pawn up. But I basically did not properly coordinate my pieces. I left a lot of stuff hanging, and at the end of the day, that kind of did me in. Okay, so now he's going for it, as it were. Right. I had to think decently hard about this one. I'm going to play check, give a check. And then I'm going to have to just move this pawn up and pray. I'll just have to pray that knight f6 does not kill me. And it just may. I'm actually seeing a line where it totally could kill me. But I sure hope not. I keep our hopes high. So knight f6. King up, only move. Queen e3. Okay, he's going to go there. Now what? Where's the checks after king g7? King g7, queen e5, takes. Is that really losing for me? I think I can hold that ending. But, and what happens if I go back? He checks me again. And that looks like doomsday. Or is it? Let's say go back, check, go here. Yeah, I'm not going to try him on that. I'm just going to come here. I'll just see what happens. So we'll see what happens. His king position is really bad. And I do have a bishop, so that I have going for me. Even though I'm down a pawn. And I do have a passer of my own as well. So, okay, let's see what happens here. Only moves queen here, so I'm not going to think too much about that. And if he wants to trade queens, we can do that. Okay, well, I'm not going to go over to there and get mated, so I'm going to come here. Let me double check. There is checkmate in 2, is it not? It is. Come here. Whoa. Alright, gotta admit, I didn't see that coming. Let's just keep playing moves. Oh my god. Well, there you have it. That was not one of my better games. Huh. And if I go back, then he's got queen h7 in checkmate. Yikes. I type in GG to him. Alright, let's go back a little bit more. Let's see. So was it done from this point? Yeah, it seems like I was forced. Alright, let's go back a little bit more. So here, yeah, queen f5 is the only move, so that means this whole continuation. So that means after knight g4, I had to try to go back. That was my only hope, was to go backwards. King h7, and then I think queen d7, and then king h8. Because no, knight f6, then queen here check, here check, king h8, and then just hope, just pray that I can somehow survive that position. I guess is the only way to go. I just didn't see the mating nets. Alright, let's throw some computer analysis in it. And let's see what the computer says. So, analysis board. So, Meruga's calling me right now, but I have no idea how I would be able to put him on the screen. Yeah, I know this is +3. So, let's go all the way back. So, okay, let's see what happened so far. So, this is all pretty normal. Very slight advantage for white, but probably fine. Here, h6 is liked. a4. So the computer really liked knight h5. I didn't think that was really too pointless. The computer didn't like this move so much, citing that knight c4 could start really attacking me, which I agree. Knight c4 is, decent, but now it's saying knight c4 is not that great. Okay, a5. I thought e5 was doing good. Bishop here. h6. Takes. It's giving white a slighted pull here. It's definitely saying white's better for sure. Do I agree with that? Yeah, I think white's position is actually pretty okay. No real weaknesses. But yeah, after this move, that was definitely a bad move. Now I did seize the advantage. So push here and then d5. He decided to move the knight back. Bishop d6 is good here. And then knight h7. Computer doesn't love this idea, but it still pulls for black. I thought it had some merits. So knight came up to here. Bishop b8. Top move. Okay, so far so good. f3. Yeah, so queen g5 was definitely better here. Bishop g3 was okay too. The exchange sack was completely sound though, completely sound. One of the better moves, I guess, because this is slightly. Yeah, some of those rook f1 was good, but it turns out that this exchange sack was not a bad idea. So takes, and then does the computer want me to take? That's what I'm kind of curious about. It says no, h5. Taking back against the computer is just about equal. Doesn't really love rook a7, but again, yeah, this queen g3 idea is not so bad. So okay, knight f6 game, knight f5, bishop c8, all top moves. Takes, here. And yes, this is where I messed up. So the computer says basically white has little compensation for the exchange, maybe half a pawn, if that. And it says just play normal, play bishop e6, and hey, you have a rook, he doesn't have a rook, just play the position. And yeah, I think I just got too engrossed with this idea of just being up a clean pawn that I overestimated it, and I played takes. And you'll see the position is still good. Like, I was completely right in my assessment. I am up a clean pawn, but maybe this wasn't the easiest way. Okay, so he plays here. Queen g5 was correct. Here. And then this is where I think I started going wrong. I think I started trying to press a little bit too hard here, and there was no need to really press. Bishop e6 is being suggested, a few things. But now all of a sudden, yeah, queen takes b6 was already possible, you know. I just don't think it was going too well. I was happy he didn't find queen b6. I put knight g3. And yeah, now it's saying just, I was so afraid of the double pawns that I just didn't want to go for it. I played this, and then all of a sudden, bishop f7, now he's just better. And I didn't really do a good job by immediately blundering. I played bishop over and just immediately threw away another pawn. And I tried to make some counterplay, but all that really did was make my position worse, really. Queen came back up, down. Queen f1. h4. And yeah. And then, yeah, now knight f6 was just bad. Okay, so was there any saving after this move? This is just queen f5. I don't know. I figured this was my only way out. Knight g4. Apparently I can just go back, which is probably what I should have done. So go back, and then what's the line of best play? It says just play queen e5. Cut off any real checks, and yeah, go from here. Black should not be surviving this at all. I mean, I don't know. Okay, it's saying king h1's good. I don't know why, but okay. If I have to step into this fire, this just can't be good. Like, I don't see any immediate mates, but I don't know. It just can't be good. Can I trade stuff here? Nope, you see already. This is how quickly a mating net can be set up, and I'm already forced to take. So, yeah. Interesting game, interesting game. I think my play was pretty good. Strategically, I did just what I set out to do. I confused it a bit more, didn't allow him his same old knight e5 jumps. I was able to get an advantage around here, so I think the opening was definitely a success for Black. Managed to get a nice strategic advantage. However, as usual, his time advantage was what seeded in the end, because again, once we get to this position, right here, if I would have had more time on the clock, I don't think I would have played rook e5. Because, okay, the position after rook e5 also is not super easy. He's got a really nice knight on e3 and pressure on the e4 pawn. Like, okay, I'm up a pawn, but his king position's a little weak. I didn't manage to complement those two ideas, but due to the lack of time, I felt that'd be an easier position to play. And not necessary at all. Just bishop e6 and just keep playing, apparently, is pretty solid. Maybe a good idea was to bring the rook to the a file and then play rook a1, or if he moves the bishop, play rook a2. Pressure from that direction. Let's look at a few moves. Hold on, I'll use the touchscreen. If the bishop goes here, says knight f1, let's give him a pretty regular move. I have no idea why you play knight f1. I'll play queen f2. And then I'm thinking rook a1. It says play queen e1, yeah, like, it's just not much going on here. Queen e1, b5, knight back. I'm basically saying just slowly improving the position. Just play a long game. Slow down, make some slow moves. It'll be okay. And yeah, this is pretty much the way to handle it. Meruga was just calling me. He wanted to do some sort of dual commentary, but I don't know how that would work. I just don't. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to accept that. But maybe he'll make a video analyzing the game. Alright, hope you enjoyed. That's it for this one. Adios, guys. Adios.